guide. So likewise, the seniors are there. The senior workforce is there which can guide, which can actually make it much lighter for the younger people. See, expecting the youngster who has joined or who has been few years into his work may have his own distractions or difficulties in getting adjusted to. However, the seniors, rather than feeling intimidated by new ideas, rather than feeling that he is bringing, it could be technology. That's something, again, as seniors, I am not certainly so technologically advanced. I still find it, if somebody talks about email appointments or consultations and all that, my mind goes blank. I would say that please call up my secretary and then take an appointment, because I don't have the habit of checking email. By now, I think Varsha would have realized it took me 1 week for me to respond to her email. Okay, so but I am not. So likewise, so there are a lot of people who are not. But when you bring in technological advances, and which clearly, yes, it is to improve your workforce, but for the senior person, it can be intimidatory, because you have to learn that. That is what can make it a little difficult. So instead of being intimidated, I think if they take that onus on them to be able to approach, to be able to have and make the youngster comfortable, perhaps there is scope for the attitudes. We all, let us accept it. Each generation is different. What is the overconfidence or the attitude actually probably is the right way to go about also. Because if you look at any Western a child, he is learnt or he is made to question everything from the start. Okay, so he won't accept anything. If you say that the world or the earth is round, he will say, I want a proof. But we probably are trained from the East to accept what our elders say. So, but the younger generation, perhaps more of influence of TV, more of their own contacts, and they have learned to question, I think rightfully so. So, don't have to feel that way that they are questioning, but maybe come down, learn a lot from that, and learn to go with the flow, so that you are one with them. You are one with them when I talk about it. So, and there is a responsibility on the younger lot also, not to feel that just because one is senior, one is past his prime, whether 55 and 60s, to feel that they are less resourced or not really adding value, because there is a lot of value which has to be respected and added to any organization. So many of these conflicts can actually be resolved if there is an openness, if there is to learn, an openness to not just learn but also accept the differences. See, that's again very, very important. One may be short, the other person may be tall, but we all know that all people can exist in this world, and each one has its own advantages too, that we being short or being tall. So once you accept it, then age should not really be a barrier with respect to professionalism. What actually should be the yardstick is about our competence, is about the willingness to learn and adapt to situations, and also willingness to contribute, willingness to be able to learn from the others. That is where I think should be, and it should be a continuous process rather than thinking that it is a one-off. I studied MBBS 25 years ago, and the learning cannot stop there, because each day brings with it newer challenges, each day brings with it newer whether in terms of treatments, diagnosis and all that. So I have to be well equipped to deal with it. So that way I think there is no age for learning, there is no age with respect to learning from oneself and the others. So to me, professionalism is a continuing concept, and certainly yes, age is the workforce with respect to the difference between the workforce is, yes, that is there. However, that can well be addressed, making certain efforts to do that. So in the process, you can continue to be what you want to, and certainly will help each other At the end of it, what you're looking for is being a happy, healthy individual, so that you are able to contribute to your family, to your organization, and be able to take care of your health. First of all, let us accept that neither of the two generations are wrong. Okay, each one has its own advantages. Now, and again, clubbing them together also would not help. Okay, so each generation, if you think about it, yes, the generation Y has this work-life balance and all the rest of it. Yes, I don't envy your job of having to work with both, but the fact remains that we will have to do that. Now, the priorities may be different, but as an organization, you have your own priorities too. Okay? Now, to me, again, I don't believe in this concept that everything was good about the older generation and everything is bad about the newer generation. I don't. I mean, I am somebody who believes that at that point of time, there were good things, there were bad things. At this point of time also, there are good things and bad things. It depends on how we take it. Okay? So, if you, as the HR manager or the HR professional, if you think certain things are not required or certain things can be classified, termed as indiscipline, clearly you have every right to say this is not acceptable. So, the boundaries have to be set irrespective of the generations, because we can't accept it. In Indian the workforce, I don't know, at least here I don't see anybody in shorts and things like that, but maybe in America it is accepted. Okay? But we have to have that boundaries, what is acceptable. Yes, there will be differences, there will be conflicts and all that, but let us again accept it. Every conflict we are not going to resolve. Okay? We are not going to make them understand, and that is not your job too. He will behave the way he wants on the road, okay, whether he honks the road and all that, because that is his responsibility. He has come to you after what, 22, 23 years after having done his graduation. Okay? So, there is his whole life he has learned something, whether it is from his parents or from his teachers and all that. So, the work ethics does not suddenly start after joining your organization. It is something, it is inbuilt and something which is there. So, we refer to this old school of thought. Many a times when you refer to the people who are much more traditional or who are thinking, I think there is a responsibility on the individual, the way he has to be. As an organization or as you have certain limitation or flexibilities a little bit, but at an individual level or at a group level, they have to be dealt with the way they have to be dealt with. Because no point in trying to say that, you know, compare or even put them all in one basket. It does not work that way. The elder, they who value the time, who value the discipline, it is the same thing for the younger generation too. It can't be different. So, I think the parameters have to be very well defined, and that is something which the no generation X, Y, Z, there is no lenience on that, because at the end of it you are working towards a much broader framework, which is your organization. There is no flexibility on that. They may like to call sir, or they may like to address him as Mr. That is different. Okay? That's where it stops. But beyond that, the work wise, he is reporting to you or he is reporting to that boss, that has to continue. I don't think there is any flexibility on that.
But do you think attitudinal changes can bridge this gap of generation?
See, attitude is something which should not be negatively seen. I see a lot of people saying that he or she has an attitude. Okay. Why should it be seen? If I am confident about myself, and if I raise the issues, I take it further, and you know, many people start thinking about the person has an attitude, or he is coming across as being challenging, questioning and all that. I think instead of, again, the people, when we talk about generations here, each generation has its own ways. Rather than seeing that as a negative attribute, I think it can very well be accepted, and it can very well be worked with also, rather than feeling intimidated or seeing it as, because we have the tendency, we have that human tendency wherein the first appearance, you know, we all know when the first impressions we make will last, you know, whether it is through your career or lifetime. So, when we are seen as confident, again it's a very relative term. Some person may see it as attitude, some may person, but it is important to me, again, forget the term, be yourself, be confident. And if that is causing an issue with respect to generation gap, it should be adequately addressed. It should be, again, as an organization, I do believe that certain norms, how you deal with an youngster, deal with a senior. Let's not again jump into conclusion that it's only the juniors who do not, or the adequately you know, respectfully talk to the seniors. There are a lot of people the other way around also. I know very well, again from the medical background, who senior doctors never used to care for the juniors. I have been at the receiving end. Okay, people who would not even acknowledge our presence there. So it took us a long time for us to say, okay, a change in culture, maybe going into the foreign soil and then coming back and say that, look, I stand by, you know, whatever I see and believe in. So it's I think our individual attribute which is something which can be worked with.
But ours is a profession where we deal with a lot of people. So we also run classes as a part of this. We train them, we orient them. So do you think it is possible to train people in their thinking? Because, you know, as you rightly said, we get youngsters, we also get experienced people in different lines. And the line that we within the civil engineering industry, we are not designers. Designers hardly interact with the client. We are not contractors. Their approach to the project is different. But we are construction managers. So we have to deal with a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders in the project. Therefore, there is a certain amount of way that you handle people. I was wondering whether, when the way we have soft skill training, we train them in project management, we also train them in soft skills. Is there a way that we can train these people to think? Because what happens is, as you rightly mentioned now, they come with a certain, I am not talking about attitude in a negative connotation. I am saying that they come with a certain picture, there are certain things that they have to deal with. If you can deal with people, 90% of our problems are solved. Each individual is different. For me, client X is totally different from client Y. His demands are totally different from Y. Though our deliverables are same. I was wondering whether when we have these youngsters come into this organization, whether it's an youngster, we have orientation. The orientation more towards what we want from them in terms of their delivery. But can we also orient them in their thinking process, saying that, because coming from you probably as a psychiatrist, you must have seen people, I was wondering, I have several questions for you. So, have you observed that in terms of psychiatric doctor, the stresses and the problems, has it been varying over the decades? That this generation had the same problem as the previous generation had?
Yeah. Yeah. First one, I certainly think it is very much required with respect to talking, dealing with people, and how we communicate, and including handling complaints. Now, which we have it not at graduation level or undergraduation level, mainly at post-graduation level. But it is important when we in a profession, whether be it your civil or be it mine, we are always amongst people. So we have to learn there is an obligation on us. I want to stress that, because the way we communicate to people, the way we treat people matters a lot, without a doubt. Okay, if which we start, in our hospital setup, we start with the inquiry, or even with before that the ward boys and all that, because it's important when somebody walks in, again the first impression matters. The ward boy was very angry or hostile, the hospital gets a bad name. Okay, so likewise in any organization, certainly there is scope for learning, there is scope on a regular basis also with respect to handling negative emotions. You know, there are a lot of patients or relatives also which can cause a lot of anger in me, frustration in me. Okay. Now, not necessarily because of medical problems, but because of could be complaints about some service and all that. So, I have to learn to handle that. Not handle means just swallow it myself, but being able to handle the problems, being able to convince the other person and reduce that amount of excitability also. Clearly, there is scope, and I think it's an extremely important area. I couldn't agree more with you. Certainly, that's something for the youngsters to not just the people, but also even within the organization, how to handle themselves. Yeah, absolutely.
I get some of these project managers coming to me that there is so much stress. I mean, I have now, if I were to translate it to me as the head of the organization, my hair should have fallen all the day, I don't know what should have happened. But I then, if he says that there is so much stress and how to handle it, I just want to train them saying that you have priorities, you
certainly,
you don't address this, you don't really
yeah.
worry. So I don't know whether we can really train them in handling the stress and people.
Something again which we are not used to is learning or saying no. Okay, we don't know, we accept, you know, whatever, I may be wrong.
I hope they do it when they give them the job.
So, having to say no, because we are already burdened, weighed down, whatever ways, reasons are, and we find it difficult to say no. Now, coming to the stress and the problems associated with it, the second question. See, one of the problems which we still face is learning or recognizing that I am getting upset, angry, irritable, not handling, because we can be seen as having a weak mind or a weak person themselves. So, when we can't, we should be able to talk about it, because it does not always mean that one has to go to psychiatrist, because we are very few in number actually. All over the country we are just about 4,000 for a billion population. So, it will not be like that, but at least at the immediate context, you know, when you have your immediate superiors, being able to talk what you are going through, that itself the problems come down. Earlier that was what used to happen. You had at home you had an extended family, you had your brothers, sisters, father, you know, or uncles and all that, and you could share with somebody. You did not have to have a psychiatrist or a counselor to rush to. Our own friends. Now, how commonly or how often do we meet our friends these days? It could well be a phone call, it could well be an SMS or even email, something like that. That all used to be the best stress busters or buffers in our life. So, that is all removed now. So, what's happening is there is a lot of pressure, including our traffic problems also in Bangalore, which puts a lot, and there is a lot of rage, violence, aggression, and clearly sometimes the productivity also reduces. So, if we are able to recognize our feelings, we are able to recognize our own stress levels to some extent, be able